Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host.
Miosha.
And today we're doing Love is Blind, the reunion. I guess we'll talk a little bit about the weddings, but not much. But yeah, just need to get this out. If you have enjoyed this season, let us know in the comments. I don't know how many people enjoyed it. I feel like people who love the show in general just pushed through this season. But let us know in the comments how you felt about this. Like this video and please subscribe to our channel. All right, who we starting off with?
Let's start with, I guess, the love story of the season. Taylor and Daniel, they're still together, which I was happy to see because I feel like that whole Instagram follow thing could have went really left. So I am happy to see that they're both, moved past it. They're happy. They can make light of the situation. They
Do we
showed
know
this.
what happened though? Like, I feel like we still don't know. Was he following her? Was he not following her? And I understand maybe they're trying to, like, they're maybe not giving us that information because they are the only couple who survived. But I would still like to know that piece of information.
I think the conclusion that I came to, whether they explicitly said it in that episode, I don't even know which one it was at this point. But the conclusion I came to is she went looking through her phone. She couldn't find where he followed or unfollowed her. And she decided to move past it. And they haven't looked back on it. That's the conclusion I got to.
I
I
got
know you
zero
were saying
conclusion.
that, oh, well, she never said that she couldn't find him. Uh, but
Well,
what
she
I
never
will,
said either way. And so it's just a big, to me, mystery. Like, it's just an ambiguous thing.
well, I think even if it, say it's ambiguous, I think at this point we could assume that whether she found evidence either way, she was fine with moving forward. Clearly, because she's still married and they've consummated their marriage. And I don't have any highlights from their wedding other than that felt like a real wedding. Like they had bridesmaids, everything. His sister
The
singing. Oh my
families.
gosh. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, don't have me out here crying. Oh my goodness. It was so beautiful. But yeah, they're still together. I'm here for it. I'm happy for them.
All right. Next couple.
Oh, thoughts on the tattoo eyes though on his chest?
I'm not a huge tattoo person, so I thought it was an interesting thing to tattoo. Hey, it looks good. It looks like her eyes. So
Very unique. I've heard of names. I've heard of like, oh, we'll tat like a ring, maybe with each other's initials on, our left ring finger. But eyes is a new one, and it looks okay. I'm not a tattoo person, but
yeah, absolutely. Okay. Who would you like to go to next?
let's do Devon and Virginia. What are your thoughts?
I feel like maybe over the season we just didn't get much from Virginia, so it was nice to hear her speak about the things that were flags for her. And I think she struggled to articulate herself at the wedding, like saying, "Oh, I'm just not ready." I wish she would have said more. I understand she's maybe a nice person, so she wasn't going to read him down at the altar in the same way that some other people did. So it made sense to me at the reunion, but prior to that, it wasn't fully clicking for me. Why she said no the way that she said no and what she meant by she wasn't ready, because she seemed to be ready to me from what was displayed on the show.
Yeah, I think Virginia was ready. She just didn't want to marry him based off of what I guess she saw more of behind the scenes. And I agree, I wish we would have known more about that earlier so that it wouldn't have felt, because even on the wedding day, it was giving like, oh, I'm so excited and he's the best person. And so but she did say she was trying to protect him. But if you knew your answer was going to be no, and these are the reasons why, it's like, okay, well, maybe you protected him in that moment, but it was all going to come out anyways.
I mean, even the way I think she handled it in a very classy way. So I don't know that. I don't know how else it could have material, like it could have come out on the show. except that she broke up with him before. You know, if she was trying to maintain this, okay, I'm going to protect his image, or I'm not going to put him out there, because had she decided to drag him, I mean, it could have been very awful for him. She alluded to certain things, but like imagine that coming out throughout the season. He would have been like the internet would have been ablaze, you know? And it already was a little bit, but I think it would have been at a larger extent had
Oh
we
yeah.
known things prior.
I was thinking more of the wedding day itself and how she was talking. Like some people, you can even tell sometimes how they look when they walk down the aisle, like, oh, this is probably going to be a no. But with her, I was surprised that she said no based off of how she was talking on the wedding day, but not surprised that she said no overall. Like, I expected you to say no, but the way she was talking when she was getting dressed and how she was just big upping him to her family, I'm like, oh, maybe since the prenup was signed and clearly she knows more, maybe she could be a yes.
But also, I'm wondering if maybe she said some of the other things, because she did have
Mm-hmm.
that long pause before she came out to walk down the aisle. So I'm wondering
Mm-hmm.
if maybe she said some of the other things. But of course, you know, this is TV, so they won't show
Yeah,
those things until
that's
maybe
true.
afterwards, or they won't show it at all because they're trying to protect. They don't want to make it obvious what the answer is going to be. So I wonder how much she actually did say that was not shown.
Yeah. And so Virginia says, there are a lot of things that he didn't want to discuss on camera, which part of me is like, okay, I could get with that. You don't want all of your business on international television. But then she goes on to say, like, oh, we just have very different views on these specific things, the LGBTQ community, political things, core values. But then she says we got there emotionally, um, but that it just wasn't going to work. And I always felt like she was holding back a bit throughout the season to where I'm like, oh, y'all got there emotionally with each other. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think she meant like, you know, they clearly liked each other, you know, had feelings for each other, but having
Mm,
feelings for each other is not necessarily what makes a marriage work. And he seemed to be of the belief that, oh, well, you know, these things don't have to be the same. And I think that's where his youth, I mean, he's not young, he's what, 28, but if we're gonna introduce his youth in any aspect, I think this would be it, because no, that I don't think that's what I think those things could really disrupt a marital home.
I think he believes that too. I think give it time, even how he was saying, like, his political views and just all the conversations that will come up even with his family, I think he would see it as an issue too. I think he was just giving maybe what's seen as a more politically correct answer in the moment, like, I'm open to everyone and I love everyone, and but it's like you're not going to marry everyone. So yeah.
I think he, at this age, believes that he could look past it, but I think he's
Mm,
just being short sighted. I think his family would clearly clash with her. And so I think, I thought maybe it wasn't an ideal situation, but I think he was being short sighted enough that, or he is short sighted enough that he
mm.
thought, oh, well, we could still, like, maybe he's not understanding the gravity of a marriage. And that, I think there's some naivete with Devon based
Or
on what he said.
he sees her as like, wow, I really hit the jackpot, and so let me see if all the other great qualities could maybe outweigh some of the other things that are come up. What did you think about this note on the nightstand as far as the ex that she didn't know about, and this money from, I guess, the mom's boss? It was $1,000 that Virginia just so happened to find out about through the mom, and he never told her about it.
So I, just for some added context, her
Mm.
friend came out and said something like, okay, whenever they would go on dates, Virginia was the one who was paying for it and all of that. And so I
What
think,
when
yeah. So I think with that added context, that also could have introduced some strain on the relationship. Like, okay, so I'm paying every time we go anywhere. I'm clearly the more financially stable one, and you get something financial, and you don't disclose that to me. I don't. I could see it both ways. I could see it with him being just like, okay, this is money that my boss gave me. I don't know if I'm getting married to her yet for sure, but I could see reasons why he might not disclose it. But I could
Mm.
also see why she felt a way about it if she had been, you know, carrying them financially when they were dating.
Okay, so I had not heard about this extra context that the friend gave. But as far as the money in and of itself, in my mind, because I think it was his mom's boss who gave it to them as a wedding gift. If it's a wedding gift, that means it's for the marital home and for the both of you. So my expectation would have been, okay, we don't deposit the check today because that is a good amount of money for a wedding gift, and we still need to see this process through. And so I would be like, hey, we got X amount. I'm going to hold on depositing the check. And if things work out, then, we'll deposit it into our account. We'll agree to spend it on whatever. If not, then I would probably give the money back to the person because it was given as a wedding gift, not just a birthday gift or a because gift. So I think he should have told her, even if they didn't use the money immediately. And if she said no, he said no, give the money back. Y'all not married. Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think he should have told her. I can also see an argument of, okay, well, I'm not going to tell her until after the wedding. That's not my favorite argument. I guess I get it. Like, if you don't know where the person stands. But it seemed like he was going to be a yes. So that added further confusion for me. Like, okay, if you were completely on board, then why not just disclose that information to her? I don't know. I think it can be a little bit tricky when two people are combining lives, and maybe there needs to be some conversations about what are we disclosing and when. So, yeah, if this were a regular process, then I think maybe we have more room for conversation. Because it was this, I,
I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
he was going to tell her because he was a
Yeah, I think
confident
I
yes.
agree.
Out of excitement, I would be like, "Oh, we got $1,000." Like, even if we're not going to deposit it, like, oh, that could be towards our honeymoon or
Something.
whatever, just out of excitement. And the
Yeah.
fact that she finds out through his mom,
Suggest that maybe the mom expected that he would tell her too. Like, so
yeah,
I don't,
it
because
was
it's
meant for the both
Devon.
of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know. I understand the other argument. Again, I don't agree with it. I think it is something that you should just go ahead and disclose. Like you said, there are ways to handle it. Okay, do we trust this, or do we go through this process and then make that decision later? But just completely withholding it, yeah, I don't understand.
And then thoughts on this, I guess, friend who's his best friend, who this is another situation where Virginia finds out, I guess, what's happened with them in the past through his mom. His mom is spilling all the tea,
His
apparently.
mom didn't want them to get married. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know that for a fact. I'm just saying. But yeah, I mean, for me, it would make me uneasy. Like, there's somebody who's going to be at my wedding who you used to fool around with. That is a big deal, and that would be for me a boundary that I would need to set. So. I didn't like that she found out in that way, and there was a letter. We don't know exactly what the letter says. He seemed to say that the letter was purely platonic and she was just happy that he found somebody. I think it's a messy situation. I don't like mess. So
Mhm.
that person should not have been invited to the wedding. That person should not be in your close circle if you're pursuing marriage with someone.
I
Period.
think he should have told her before they all interacted, because he said something about how this person is married to a person in his that was in his wedding party. So it sounds like they're one big group of friends.
I
You
wouldn't
sh-
care.
you should have. I think you should have told her so she at least knows, like, oh, they used to mess around or date or whatever. Yeah, I don't agree with allowing them to interact, and then he actually would have never told her. I don't know if he would have ever told her. The mom had to say it. So,
Baby, this mom is spilling all the tea.
and of course, they walked
Do
away after she said
yeah.
no. And yeah. Uh,
She was very apologetic, which I mean, I understand her being apologetic to her family. But yeah, I she seems like a sweet person. I hope she finds somebody. I think she articulated herself well at the reunion, said why this is not going to be a good match for me long term. And I think her haircut looks fantastic. So yeah, shout out to Virginia. Wish her the best.
yeah. All right. You want to go to Sarah and Ben?
I don't want to, but I can. Okay, so, okay, do you feel like Sarah went through this process just to be in this process? Or do you feel like she was really giving him a chance? Because at the wedding, it became a little bit unclear for me. Like, was she really just being accepting of him throughout the entire thing? Or was she more so thinking, I'm gonna wait until the end and just like call this off?
I don't know. She's very all over the place. I I don't think she did it for clout. I think she went in for the experience and it seems as though, well, whatever happens, happens. But then part of me thinks she kind of saw Ben as this issue or problem that she was going to try to convert or fix. I don't know. Sarah's very all over the place, and I didn't really understand her level of animosity towards Ben, and I'm no Ben fan at all. Like, I think he's kind of a goofball and he doesn't seem genuine at all. And so I was always surprised that for someone to be so woke, you let yourself get this far in the process with this guy? What is going on here? So she never stood on business on anything. So
She
maybe
doesn't
you're
know
right.
what
She just wanted to
standing
be
on
there.
business looks like. She might not even know what standing looks like. She was sitting down the whole season.
Yeah, and so Nick opens up, he asks Sarah, you knew about Ben's stance on social and political issues, so why move forward out of the pods? The question we all wanted to know. She says, oh, well, it's because he never progressed when we got out of the pods, or I guess had enough curiosity independent of her on these issues. But so then what? You would have been okay with it if he had more conversations with you about it? Like 8 weeks is not enough time even for him to really show action in my opinion. So
It's
and
not
if
even
you're
8 weeks. It's like 3 weeks from the honeymoon.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm thinking married at first sight. Even less time. So you're working, you're filming, you're trying to interact and get to know each other. When exactly was this supposed to happen? And I just don't believe it. I think part of her wanted to get further in the process and was just like whatever about these things and would just randomly bring them up to kind of drag the issue, but never really have any real intention on, I guess, holding true to her own core values. It's so crazy. I didn't understand why she was so upset with him.
Yeah, so okay, I would say by the wedding, I thought, okay, girl, you've known about this for so long. Maybe you just wanted to be on TV for all these weeks. But then they had a relationship where she expected a relationship, moved in with him or something like that after. And so I'm like, okay, you seem so short. Like even at the altar when he said, I would love to continue our relationship, she goes,
We'll see.
we'll see. And it wasn't certain. Like she seemed very sure that they wouldn't progress, but didn't want to say it at the altar. And now all of a sudden, y'all are moving states. What is
But
going
even
on?
her attitude leaving the altar, oh, get me out of here. Even her conversation with her sister, and I think it was her mom, nothing about that gave that she was torn about him, or she was just like, nope, it is what it is. I'm moving on with my life. And so she circles back with this guy that she knows all of this about, wants to bring him along on her travel nurse contract, eventually he's the one that breaks it off with her. I think, like, you know what? Let's just be done with this. Like, let's not move forward. And it's almost like she was more upset that he ended it with her ultimately or ghosted her. And that's why she's so upset. Sarah, I wanted to know from you, out of everything that's happened, why was it that he ended up being the one to ghost you and cut things off with you? And I'm sorry, what did you expect? The way you broke up with this man at the altar, did you really think that it was going to move forward to something meaningful, or did you just want to have fun with him for so many weeks in Tennessee?
Sarah has confused me this entire season, but I hope that she got what she was looking for. And I hope that, if she truly believes in certain things, that she learns from this and is able to stand her ground. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it.
And then she was referencing, I guess, some of the TikTok stuff about like, oh well, now that I know what I know about him, which the stuff might actually be true, but it almost kind of doesn't even matter to me because you still chose to move forward. And I don't know, from all the stuff that I saw, it just sounds like, yeah, he hasn't had a great dating history. He's messed around on a lot of women, whatever.
And he needs to watch who he takes advice from as well.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Crackcorn is back.
Speaking of Jimmy, what did you think of the top five most whatever? I guess fans voted on that. Well, I must have missed it because I didn't vote.
Yeah, I was
But
surprised that the Jessica clip was number one because I feel like I could think of other clips that could have been higher. Like, I didn't watch the season, but the one with SK and Raven, like the way he said, "I do not,"
I do not.
or what was the guy from season one? The "Oh, I'm not gay no more."
Carlton and Diamond, like somebody was like, you literally didn't put Diamond in there quoting Beyonce lyrics at Carlton.
And
Like
then what was her name where she gave her dog wine?
Jessica. You know what?
Jessica.
They really love Jessica from the previous season. I think that's what it is because she's
Okay.
like a Netflix sweetheart. She was on Perfect Match and all this stuff. I think they
Oh,
really
okay.
tried to market her in ways that maybe it did catch on with some other people from the
Hmm.
audience, but I don't necessarily get the hype. Not to say anything like bad about her. I'm sure she's
Yeah.
great, but she just wasn't one of the characters to me that stood out so much that she needed to be at the reunion and she needed to be at like she didn't do
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I could think of other top scenes, even Chelsea with the whole "oh, I look like Megan Fox." I don't know. I could just think of other big moments but I did agree with the one with Jeremy with the A and him getting caught cheating in the parking lot because of his
Jeremy
Apple
with the
Watch.
A. You were in Uptown, 5 minutes away from Sarah Ann's house. I was like, ooh, she came with her facts.
That or when Sarah Ann and him like sped off on that jet ski at the end of the season. I don't know. We should come up with our own top five.
Comment down below your top five lifetime moments, because I'm sure whatever our our friends online put together will be better than what they put together at that reunion.
I agree. But anyways, yeah, that's all I have on Sarah and Ben. Next, you
Who
want to
is next?
do Joey and Monica?
Oh yeah, do you have much on them? I Monica looked amazing by the way. I thought her makeup was chef's kiss.
So
My
with these,
favorite makeup look, maybe next to Virginia's.
so with these two, I do kind of want to circle back to one thing about the wedding. Well, two things. One, I was happy that she said no because I think all the signs were there that he just wasn't that into her. So I was very proud of her. I think she clearly wanted to say yes and would have said yes if he said yes first. Um, and so I think when she said no, he said no as well and basically thanked her in so many words for saying no because he felt the same. And then the second thing is the whole vibe about him on the wedding day gave unserious how he comes in on a skateboard, and for me knowing that he also would have been a no, you sliding in rolling in like that and knowing that you're a no, strange to me. This is no.
Well, okay, so I don't know. I agree with you that it was very unserious, which he has been the entire time. And I am also proud of Monica for saying no. She was like, I was just looking for some type of validation. But even the words he said at the altar weren't giving, yeah, I want to spend my life with you. It was like, I'm so glad to have done this experience with you, as if it were coming to an end.
Yeah, I can't get over him rolling in to say no. All that attention to say no.
Also, what's that
Because
girl's
what if
name?
they would have asked
Madison?
him first? That was another thing. Say they asked him first and you rolling in, everyone's clapping for you, for you to say no, just walk in and say no and leave.
Cut the theatrics.
Not the theatrics. You know you're going to say no. So why even get the crowd hype? Granted, I don't think she saw any of that, but she was going to watch it back.
Yeah, I was going to ask what you thought about Madison's input in their relationship. I don't know. I'm a little over Madison.
Oh yeah. So what it was, I guess, the follow up was that Monica got word that he was DMing some of the women, some of the other podsters, and I guess Madison was one of them. I was kind of confused about what happened. So y'all saw each other, and what I agree with is that he shouldn't have been in Madison's DMs.
Yeah, I don't like a friendly man. Like stop being so friendly to people even if you think you're just being friendly, but especially if you're not giving the person who you're with the attention, don't be linking up with people who you had a connection with in the pods. Like that's absolutely inappropriate.
And did he try to flip it and say that like, "Oh, Madison's into me"? Did you gather
Yeah, yeah,
that?
yeah. That was something
Okay.
that he said. Like he was trying to say, "Oh yeah, Madison keeps coming on to me," and apparently that wasn't true.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm proud of Monica. I will say I do kind of feel bad for her in the sense of like her situation with her sister. Not that I wanted this to work out because of her sister, but I think two things can maybe be true at the same time. I think her sister maybe has her own feelings about, maybe her not being married and how she's progressing in her relationship or not. And maybe there being this competition that's one sided of who will get to the altar first. So I think that probably needs to be addressed from like a sister to sister angle. But it also could be that she also was peeping how unserious this guy was. And maybe it was overshadowed by some of those other emotions. So
Very fair, very fair. I do think the sister has some work to do, just things to be mindful of, I'll say. But yeah, she wasn't wrong, maybe. Yeah. Who do we have after
just
Monica and Joey?
so you want to do Dave and Lauren?
Oh my God, I forgot about them. Yeah.
How could
Dave and
we?
Lauren,
And his sister.
who did not show up. I was like, that would have been good television.
Does he have a sister? Confirm or deny? We need answers because if I were his sister, I would be so irritated with him. Just
She
because
was a main character and she's not even on the show.
why am I a cast member on here? He claims his sister didn't want him to be shown in a bad light. That's why she didn't want him on there. And he
Probably
also
because
said,
she knows him well enough to know that he would have. Like, uh, she has to have known that it wouldn't have been a bad edit. It would have just been him being him if she knows her brother well enough, which it seems like she does. So there were probably valid reasons for why she didn't want him on the show that had to do more with him than with who he would be partnered with.
and then I don't think it was the wedding. I mean, I'm sorry, the reunion. Maybe it was the wedding episode, but he admitted, or maybe it was episode 11, as at a certain point up until now, because we missed a few episodes, he admitted that he told his sister he was never going to progress in the process. Don't even take it serious. And so he, in so many words, confirmed that he would just wanted to be a part of the process. He never actually came on here to find a wife or a fiance. So we knew that, but he said it all but verbatim. in one of the previous
Hmm.
episodes. I can't remember which one at this point.
Yeah, and so I guess it came out recently that Lauren was telling the truth and the guy was not, which I think we all still knew. But I think what remains the same for me, and you can tell me if you agree, is that Lauren should have been more careful with like just clearing things up. If you know this process is one that should lead to marriage and that's what you're hoping for, then just maybe close certain doors before you progress, or before you head to the show. Make sure they're completely closed. Just because if this relationship does work out, you don't want something tainting it from the beginning because you didn't tie up loose ends. So I hope she learns that lesson, but I don't think she did anything like wrong. I just think she could have handled that better. And unfortunately, she ended up with Dave, who didn't give her much.
I agree. I was just thinking, man, Minnesota is it the smallest of places? I don't understand. How do all these people know each other? For them to have so much overlap in their friend groups, how did they not overlap at some point? Something that I wish Nick or Vanessa would have asked is how exactly did those initial conversations happen with these friends? Because in my mind, you're isolated in the pods in LA. You go straight to your honeymoon. You don't have your phone. And I thought it's a part of your contract to not disclose any information other than to people who have agreed to be filmed on who you've been matched with. Otherwise, the entire it could spoil the whole storyline. And so I wish they would have asked them, okay, all this chatter that was happening, did you offer up Lauren's name and information about her? It would have made sense to disclose it to your dad and your sister, but how did the friends know who Lauren was?
And it seemed like they knew before they even moved in Minnesota. Like it seems like the moment they got their phones, it came out. So
But
I am
how did they,
curious about
out of
that.
all the people in Minnesota, how did they connect her to this guy and that she actually ended up getting paired with Dave? Something's fishy there. And my guess is he told them way more information than he should have up front because he already didn't care. He knew he wasn't going to be moving forward with her seriously. But nonetheless, Lauren, she says, watching it back, she can clearly see how she's light years ahead of him as far as maturity goes. I just wish that she would have been the one to bow out earlier than letting him kind of drag her through the mud, really, for doing nothing wrong. So.
Period. Do you want to talk about the Alex, Madison, Mason, Meg situation, or should we go on to happier things like AD and Ollie?
We could quickly talk about Mason and Meg. The only thoughts I have on them is I don't feel a way about them giving it a go outside of the pots just to see if it could work. It didn't. They still seem to be cool. Good for them. Madison, I don't know. I feel like she's another person where a few things can be true at the same time. I think Alex and him standing up for Mason was questionable, but I also feel like she was also a bit manipulative as well. It almost kind of felt as though she was okay with her stringing two people along until the end, but she felt a way that Mason did the same thing. And so that's where I don't understand where her animosity is coming from because, okay, then all of y'all are manipulative. And if by the end you're in the pod with the guy that you said was your number one, anyways, why do you care to stir the pot so much with Mason and Meg? That's not making sense to me.
And okay, maybe she thought that pulling the receipts out of her armpit would be more iconic, but to me, it just, I think she puts her effort into places where they don't belong. And I think that maybe therapy would benefit her, because it seems like she has something to prove all the time. And she is actively in the middle of so many things going down. And so I just want her to remove herself and just find peace with not being all in the mix all the time. Now, I also understand that Alex is probably someone who gets under the skin because he might say one thing on camera and then be something different in private. Like we've had so many things that have come on the internet about
Mm-hmm.
him and his past. So I don't think he's very innocent. And I don't think he was questioned enough about those things that have come up in the past. I don't know why. It doesn't seem like there are active lawsuits. So I don't understand why the host didn't hold his feet to the fire. It seems
Mm-hmm.
like Madison got a lot of energy, even from Meg, right? She got a lot of energy, which, again, if you're someone who likes to put yourself in the mix, is
That's
warranted. But I don't think she was the only one who deserved attention. There are people who've done far worse things than be messy, and
oh
they
yeah.
should have been called out.
And I think as far as Mason and Meg, I wasn't surprised that they were irritated with her because for them watching it back, she did unnecessarily insert herself. Like, it's not on you to speak on what's going to happen with Mason and Meg. Why would you go back to Meg and try to convince her that, oh, he's not a good guy? I feel like she unnecessarily inserted herself way too much, and it almost felt a bit vindictive because she didn't like how Mason handled the situation. It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna blow up your whole spot. And so I wasn't surprised that they felt away, but when she pulled the receipts out, I'm like, girl, no. I just wish she would have not given it as much energy. Because as well as because it was coming off of the heels of her being involved in what's her
Monica
name?
and Joey.
Monica and Joey's thing. And I feel like she also was chiming in, or maybe it was Lauren. They were out at a bar somewhere. Was it with Devon in Virginia? You remember they they were, I think they were saying to Devon like, "Oh yeah, and you were out saying that Virginia ghosted you." Was it her who was chiming in
Oh,
as
I don't
well?
remember who it was now. I'm sorry, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
know it was Molly, and I can't remember if it was Lauren or Meg. But she been in a lot of stuff. So her pulling the receipts out, girl.
You could have kept that. And I think also Molly, like, it just read very young, this whole thing. Like, you guys are worried about things that don't matter in real life. Talk about Alex in those cases or those allegations. Like, y'all are worried about stuff that is just so unimportant that I can't take you all seriously, you know?
I will say, as far as the whole Alex thing, like so much has come out. And I'm just thinking, man, if this is true, y'all are so bold. Why would you go on international television, knowing you have these types of skeletons in your closet? On the flip side, I will say, because they are allegations, I could see them not publicizing what anything about it just because, like, what do you say? I could see people suing left and right about whatever because nothing has actually, at least as of today, I think, gone into the court of law and like all those things. And so I think that's where it gets tricky, where hopefully the victims follow through and do what needs to be done. Otherwise it's kind of like, well, what do you even say if nothing's been followed through on? And that's the
Yeah,
part that sucks. So,
that's true. For me, I don't think he should have even had that platform.
oh, like,
Like,
why even have him on there? Yeah, I could
why
see
even
that.
have him on knowing those things, right? Like, so we're spending all this time and he has all these allegations, which I completely understand what you're saying. Like, why spend time on things like, yeah, and he belongs to or he's a Netflix contestant now, so it's like you want to be careful, you want to protect him as well. The company probably is more invested in him than people who are alleging things. But if you know these things are there, why platform him yet again? And that's what I have a problem with, I
Oh
think.
yeah, because his storyline was not that important because it ended in the pods. That's another thing. They end up bringing back all these people who end so early. So that's what, maybe halfway through the season. And so it's like, why even have them on there? Really, I can understand them having Madison on there because she was involved in a few other things, but we could have did without their whole
Yeah.
quad situation they had
I
going
could have done
on.
without Megan Mason. Who could find out on social
Yeah.
media if y'all are still together or not? Like, I could have done without Molly.
Oh yeah, she definitely ended pretty early. What we needed was Dave's sister. That's what we needed. And the friends.
Period. That's what we needed.
That's what
That's
we
what we
needed.
needed. But okay, talking about what we needed, what we didn't know we needed
Oh
was
yeah.
Miss
Oh,
Amber Desiree.
I know. She got her ring.
Love, love, love her. And we liked Ollie. Like, I think we called him out for things that went left, but overall we felt like, okay, Demi's cool, we wish her the best. Obviously he wasn't checking for her in that way, at least not for like something permanent. And then we thought like he got a lot of unnecessary feedback on the internet, about things that
I,
he did.
I stand by. I felt like for the woman he really wants, he'll have eye contact. He'll do what he needs to do. He'll FaceTime. He'll call. He'll step up and do what he needs to do. It's just what it wasn't the right fit for him, and
The right
so
romantic fit, yeah.
yeah, it just is what it is. I never felt like he was a bad guy, but I was like, yeah, he for the one he really wants. As with most men, they'll move mountains. So
And I will say there is no better person, in my opinion, to move mountains for than Amber Desiree. Like we've seen her have her moment. She bounced back. She did not go back to Clay. She was out here just like getting her social media on, which I've been happy to
mhm,
see. Now she has a podcast called What's the Reality Podcast.
mhm.
So yeah, I'm just really happy for her success. I'm very proud that they dated in private as much as they could because
Yeah,
they were spotted like Gossip Girl. They were spotted at a certain point, but they didn't post anything about each other. And this is the first time that they're publicly acknowledging their relationship. And I think they should keep it private as well. Maybe a post here and there, but don't invite people in too much. Like, I hope it works out for them. I hope they are the real deal and last till death do them part.
yeah, yeah. I think I watched a little bit of their podcast together where they were talking about their engagement, and I do think it
Okay.
is the real deal. And I want to see cute pictures here and there, but not too much. No reality TV shows, vlogging, none of it. Keep it tight. Let's maybe a wedding special. Sponsored by Netflix.
I would
Have the
love
wed-
to see a wedding special, and
we
that's it.
give us the
Produced,
wedding of the
yeah.
year, and then that's it. Oh, she's pregnant, baby shower, big moments. But other than that, I don't want them too exposed to where they feel like they succumb to the
Yes.
pitfalls of
We want them
reality.
protected.
Yeah, yeah. I really do wish them the best, and I did see
And
where
they look good.
Clay was chiming in, but nobody cares. Like,
It's so funny that the only time that people care or listen to what he has to say is when he's bringing up the lady who he left at the altar. But yeah.
and I think for me, in looking back, it's not even that he said no to her. Like, there were so many other problematic things that I feel like he did that season. Like, okay, you're paired with a person you feel like it's not going to work with, but why are you airing all of your family's business? Your mom is just finding out. It's just there were a lot of other things other than him just saying no to AD. That was a
My biggest
problem.
problems with him were afterwards. Like I remember there was one interview where he tried to say something negative about like, oh yeah, AD did this and my mom felt a way about it because his mom isn't like very vocal on social media, but there have been times where she is, like when she's saying, I'm disappointed in him for being linked up with this other woman. I don't remember who she was, but
Oh yeah,
apparently
yeah,
she was like an IG model or something like that. But yeah, I didn't like that moment. I had hoped that he would learn from things. Like I think he was for the most part nice to her on the show. Like he wasn't
yeah,
dogging her or anything like that. So my biggest issues with him came after the show.
yeah. I could see that, but we have AD and Ollie, and hopefully we get a wedding within the next year. How exciting! Love is Blind did
Very
something right.
exciting. Yeah, no, for real. I love it for both of them. They look beautiful together. I mean, they're both gorgeous people. So yeah,
I
kudos to y'all
wonder.
for how y'all handled everything. The proposal was very beautiful too.
It was. I wonder what side of the pond they're gonna live on. Is she gonna move over there and get her British accent, or is he
You
gonna
better come
come?
over here.
I know
Better
where.
come over and get you one of these.
I know you better move to LA where there's good weather and opportunities. Yeah, no shade against London. I've been there. It's a nice place, but the weather is pretty dreary.
Weather-wise, I would prefer LA.
Yeah.
So
So.
yeah. All right, I think that's it for this reunion. I mean, you could tell it was a drag. They had a whole performance that
Oh, I
I
didn't
had
even
to
watch
I had
it.
to forward through it. Yeah, I wasn't.
Did anything happen after it? Because I ended
I don't
it.
think so. Once I saw
Oh,
80 and Ollie, baby, I didn't care about the other people on the couch. I was like,
okay.
this season can just like be removed from history and I would be just fine.
Yeah, but I do hope to get positive updates from Taylor and Daniel. I hope it works out, and yeah, I think he said his mom had cancer of some sort. So yeah, I hope that things
Feeling
do,
towards her.
yeah, really work out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I have.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all for the maps review next week. We'll just do both of the reunion episodes together and be done with that. And, hopefully we'll be back with some other things after both shows are completely over. But stay tuned and we'll see y'all in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.